You mentioned the fire is online. And so this past year, we have another consultant who came and joined us and, in the online education world. And Dr. Ledlow has been kind of managing that in her work, and maybe even by the time this is come live, maybe there's been some other announcements. But just in general terms, can you give us an update on where that is? I mean, the online teaching thing, going back to the questions we had about enrollment and about learning, I know at times for some of my peers and for myself, it's if I could wave a magic wand, I probably wouldn't teach online, and yet that's the world we live in, and there's access issues, and like the firefighters, they can't come to us. They need to be out there protecting us with fire, and other people have those issues relative to managing their lives and their work and pursuit of education. So online's here. We're not going to not have it, and yet there's challenges in the issues of quality, academic integrity, access, managing it, and all that's, I think, probably encapsulated to some degree in the consultant's work and Dr. Ledlow's work. So can you, there's a lot of tales there. I didn't give you one good question, but.
Okay, let me just talk a little bit about it. In the early part of the last decade, say 2000 to 2005, a lot of work was done to train faculty, develop curriculum, strengthen a platform on which we taught, all those sorts of things. And we made a lot of progress in online learning. We made a big strategic decision, and that was we're not going to have a separate unit that does all of our online and then do all of our on-ground in the regular campuses. And we did that because we thought our online students and our on-ground students needed the same professors, and the professors needed both sets of experiences. So online grew. It grew more in response to specific demand from students and interest from faculty than according to some big strategic plan.
Correct.
It grew to over 20% of our credit hours. And that realization just a couple of years ago led us to say, you know, it's probably time to step back and say, are we doing what we want to do? Are we doing it with the quality we want to do it? What resources do we need to commit to this to do it the way Valencia would want to do it? In what disciplines and what courses, with what support for students and faculty and so on. And so a first step at that was just to bring in fresh eyes, because we've been buried in it for a long time.
Okay.
And so we hired a consultant who had done a lot of work with the Florida Virtual School and had great reputation, and said, take a look at what we're doing, just tell us what you think. And she spent some months doing that and brought a report forward. And that's available to anybody that wants to read it.
It's online.
Yeah, it's on the website. When that was reviewed by a pretty large team, 60, 70 people looked at it and said, okay, some of this stuff that she noticed, we've noticed too and are already beginning to respond to. We got work in progress. Other areas is kind of greenfield for us. So they made a decision to put some work teams together to focus on components of the report, and there's several of those work teams working. Again, all that's on the website to find. I can't give you specific updates on what they're all doing.
Well, let me ask you a couple of questions. So you said early on we made a decision that we would not have a separate unit. Is that still our opinion?
Yes.
Okay. So there's not going to be some announcement of a school of online learning or a college of online that's going to have its own separate leadership. We're going to still do it the same way we've been doing it, where a faculty member like myself may be teaching in both modes of delivery, and even including hybrid, a third option.
Yes, yes. And I don't think anybody's going to be compelled to teach a certain amount that way. I think what you want are people teaching who want to do it, for whatever their reasons. But we have already made the decision that as a part of the tenure process, you've got to get digitally certified. You have to know how.
Right.
And so that's been added to the tenure process. Here's what I would say about the study and our response to it generally, Carl. The study revealed, in subsequent conversation revealed, there's a significant appetite in the college for raising standards.
Yes.
And how you raise those standards is, that's the challenge of the collaborative work. But we needed to raise our expectations for what's taught online, who is taught online, and who does the teaching online, what evidence we have of success online, what tools we support it with, and finally, coordination across campuses, because even something as simple as scheduling created all sorts of problems online. So you had an unconnected scheduling process producing too much capacity in one area and not enough in another, and so on. So figuring out how to have the freedom for departments to do this work, but in a coordinated way, just like a lot of other challenges at multi-campus colleges.
Right.
Is in the middle of this too. So I think we decided, no, we don't want to have a separate online college, but yes, we do want more coordination of online within the college we have.
So we should expect that to see both from how I experience what I'm asked to teach, what am I given as my classes, as well as people like myself who are discipline chairs, managing, there's going to be more coordination.
I think so.
What about the student side? Sometimes it feels like we could do more in student readiness, but then when you tie that into open access, it becomes, in my opinion at least, a little challenging. I know there's some work going on with that. Are we going to be pushing for changes there as well?
I think so. There's a lot of appetite for some sort of a digital passport that says of a student, you're ready now to do this. I think the NSE, New Student Experience course, lends itself to helping students discern, am I ready to do this? Do I have the credentials to do this? I think you're likely to see standards that involve how you deal with students who are serial, non-successful in a serial way in online classes. So I just think it's going to be a little more structured, a lot more coordinated, and our expectations of one another, what we bring to an online experience, are going to be higher. Not that they're lax now, but we've kind of outgrown the model we developed almost 10, 12 years ago.
Right. Got time for two more?
Sure.
All right, just want to make sure. Don't you get...
They can always watch this and compress and skip.
Don't you get worn out here.
That's right.
So,
fast forward if you're bored.
Yeah, and hopefully...